town. I grew up believing.
Welcome back, Santa Clarita. This is Perry Smith for the City of Santa Clarita Spotlight Show. I'm here in the studio with Mayor Bob Kellar and City Manager Ken Striplin. And if you're just joining us, we were just talking about some of the services the city enjoys with the contract with the Sheriff's Station and the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Ken, talk to me a little bit about what's happening there and what Sheriff's Station Captain Paul Becker. You mentioned he brought in some programs and implemented some things to help service his community. Tell me a little bit about those.
Sure. That's there's two of them that really come to mind that I think have been extremely effective. When Captain Becker came in, one of the things he did is restructure the way that we were receiving services from a patrol standpoint and how we approach crime and tracking crime and reacting to crime. And one of the things that he did was create what's called the CPU, or the Crime Prevention Unit. And that whole concept created zones throughout the city, and then created zone leaders who were then responsible for identifying crime trends, identifying how those trends may cross zones, and then as a collective unit, that CPU looks at how do they address issues, and then how do they approach dealing with crime, both from a preventative as well as a reactive standpoint. And the crime zone perspective really has done an amazing job in terms of keeping the crime rates down. Another project or program that Captain Becker came up with was the Juvenile Intervention Team, or the J Team, and that's really a team that's focused on drugs and juvenile issues, and has really had a major impact on the drug issue that we were facing here in Santa Clarita.
And I know part of that has been I believe they're involved with the Defy It, the Drug-Free Youth in Town program. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Over the last couple of years, one of the things we noticed was unfortunate was that we had a number of overdose deaths, and really with our younger population, and the overdoses became more and more prevalent. And so, as a community, we really stepped up and said, what is creating this issue? And then how do we address it? And obviously, drug use is a very difficult issue to deal with. But it's certainly an issue that has to be dealt with from a community standpoint. And so with Captain Becker, one of the projects that he initiated was with the school districts as well as with action programming, was really a holistic approach with the city as well. And Defy It is a prevention program, and it's a prevention program that exists within the high schools and ultimately will exist within both the junior high schools and the elementary schools. And the idea is to get kids, prevent them from getting into any situation where they can overdose, but also to start utilizing high school students as mentors and role models to younger kids before they even get introduced to drugs, so that they have that positive influence and a way to avoid drug use altogether.
So it's kind of a peer-led program.
Absolutely. Okay.
And what role does the Sheriff's Station play in that, per se? As far as, is that more on the enforcement end with Defy It, or is that kind of a support role?
Well, that's one of the great things about Paul Becker was, I think a lot of law enforcement looks at their role as just being on the enforcement side. And I think as Paul looked at the drug issue, he truly understood that there's a prevention aspect, there's an intervention aspect, and then, of course, there is an enforcement aspect. So the Sheriff's Department has been involved in all three of those concepts, which really, I think, helps deal holistically with the issue. And so the Sheriff's Department has been hand in hand with the Hart District, the school districts, with the city, really developing this program, and are involved in all the aspects of implementing the program as well.
And as far as the CPU and the Zone Leader program, how has that kind of helped with the community interaction? It kind of puts a face to the law enforcement aspect of things, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely, because the zone is created, and that zone leader is now responsible for having an awareness of everything that happens within that zone. And anytime there's an issue or a call comes in within that zone, that one person is directed to that community member or that community and sent out in the community to deal with it. So that one person now has a lot of responsibility, ownership, and accountability for that zone which they're responsible for.
I want to jump on that, if I may, and share with you. I spent 25 years with the LAPD, and very proud of the service. I see what we're doing here in Santa Clarita with our Sheriff's Department in this zone program, and I've been over there and had a complete review of it. I will tell you, it's 21st century policing. It really is bringing it into the 21st century, and our numbers, our crime stats, are, comparatively speaking, at the lowest point they have ever been in our 25-year history as a city when we look at it on a per capita basis. This is a huge accomplishment. I mean, all of us need to be very, very proud of this, and it's taken this team effort that Ken has talked about with all of the programs that the sheriffs have been able to bring forward that has given us the ability to be as safe a community as we are. It's never perfect, But I tell you what, we've got much to be proud of here.
And I think a big part of that is kind of that community feel and being able to create a small town atmosphere where people can talk to their law enforcement. I mean, what do you think about that? And their community leaders as well, obviously, not just the sheriff's station officials. And you were kind of telling me a story about that as far as your interaction with the community while we were on break there. Just as far as, our ability with a smaller government just to be able to react to people and their issues.
Well, you never know where something's going to come from. It's been a couple of weeks ago I had an occasion to take a tour of Charter College. It's located here in Canyon Country on Sierra Highway by Flying Tiger.
Sure.
There's the intersection there. And after getting a tour of the college, one of the ladies said, Mayor, could I show you something? I said, well, of course. And we stopped out on outside the office area there, and she looked across. She points to a street, right across the street, a street sign. And it says dead end. And I'm sure that sign's been there for a long time. They're at Flying Tiger. But also at the back of that cul-de-sac, at the dead end of that street, is a senior housing complex. And she says, that seemed like kind of a negative thing. And I looked at it and I said, I couldn't agree with you more. So I got an email from her yesterday. She says, can't thank you enough. She said it says not a through street. and so it no longer says dead end. But little things like that, and you can be kind of oblivious to it, but yet how many people have noticed that, thought about it, but this is the first time they've ever brought it forward, and we did get it corrected. I mean, it's getting the city business done.
And how does that work? Do you mention something to someone? Do you pass along that email?
My part's easy.
Okay.
I pick up the phone and call the city manager and say, you're not going to believe this. And he gets it done.
Okay, and then the city manager talks to Public Works, I would imagine, and
that's correct.
That's how all the things happen. Well, that is a great story. We'd like to talk a little bit more. This is the City Spotlight Show with Perry Smith at hometown station, KHTS AM 1220. And we were talking with Mayor Bob Kellar and City Manager Ken Striplin, and we'd also like to look at issues going beyond Santa Clarita, because I know one of your jobs is to kind of make sure we're getting taken care of in Sacramento and from Washington. So we're going to talk about those issues a little bit when we get back from break. Please stay with us. And if you're listening mobily, check it out on our iPhone app, Android phone app.
Blue Earth